Are you someone who's always wondered what it feels like to wear latex or how difficult it is to get in and out of it? Well, stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to be answering all of your latex questions.
Is it difficult to put on?
This was probably my most asked question in different forms, but pretty much essentially the same thing. And the answer is, of course, yes and no. I know, confusing, right? But it really does depend on what sort of item of clothing you are putting on. If you are trying to squeeze yourself into a latex catsuit, obviously that's going to be far harder to put on than this skirt, for instance. If it's loose fitting latex, it's going to be way easier than trying to wiggle your way into like a full latex catsuit. I have witnessed people get into neck entry catsuits. I've personally never tried one because I'm claustrophobic and I'm not going to lie, it scares me a little bit. But there are neck entry things too, which is obviously like a whole other level. I mean, getting into a latex catsuit is bad enough, but neck entry, like, I salute you if you do that because I haven't got the minerals to do that. Obviously, there is tips and tricks to make getting into items of clothing a lot easier. Predominantly the two main ones that I know, I don't know if there's any more, but the two ones that I definitely know of is talc, so you can use like talcum powder to get into your latex, or lube. Now, I personally opt for lube because it makes everything slippery, obviously, and it just makes things way easier to get on. Like if I'm putting a catsuit on, I lube the hell out of it so that it will just slide right on and make my life easier. But we're talking about latex, and latex is very specific, very particular. It's a bit dramatic, and there's a lot of things that you can and can't use with it or get near it because like it just don't like them. And me and latex have a lot in common in that respect. You have to use a silicone based lube. You can't just use any random lube. It's silicone based usually is what I've always been told to use and I have always used is a silicone based lube. I go for a non-perfume one as well. Like the less hassle and fuss, the better, because your girl latex is a bit fussy, like I said, so you have to treat her good. Okay, and this is how I've been told to treat her good. It is and can be tricky putting latex on depending on what you're opting for. If you're just opting for like a little loose skirt or dress or even a top, it's pretty easy to get on. Once you start putting sleeves and non-zips and form-fitting stuff on, it gets harder, but it's still not crazy difficult to put on unless you're doing a neck entry, which I've never tried.
I love latex, but I don't know where to start with it.
I get it, trust me, it's quite a daunting thing, and knowing where to start, especially with the price tags that come around latex, I fully understand the reason why you might be nervous to commit, but just know you can start super small with latex, and as simple as replacing something in your normal wardrobe with a latex piece. So a latex top, for instance, with a pair of normal jeans. That is a great way to start. Latex gloves, perhaps not even opera gloves, just like the smaller length gloves. That is also a great piece to start with. The outfit I have on right now would be a great place to start with latex. Let me show you. So I have a latex skater skirt on. So it's not super restrictive or anything like that. It falls really nicely and you could wear it with normal clothing. Like I've styled it before with a Christmas jumper. I will put the link to the video in the description, but a lot of you liked that when I styled a latex skirt with a normal jumper. And you can team latex as simple as that because most people won't even realize that you're wearing a latex skirt and you will know. It will feel good and you'll like the shiny bit and you've just teamed it with something normal in your wardrobe. I also have the latex halter top on, which is loose fitting as well. It's got no underwiring or anything like that. It's just a normal latex top and you could wear that with a skirt or jeans or anything really. And it's just a great way of dipping your toe in with latex without fully committing. So I've teamed this latex halter neck top with the skirt like you can see and made a dress. And it doesn't really feel like I'm wearing latex at all because it's not super restrictive or anything. And I feel that's most people's fear perhaps when it comes to latex, of moving too quickly, too fast. Like, you can jump straight into the deep end and wear a catsuit. I'm not telling you you can't do that. But if you're someone who's a little bit more nervous when it comes to trying latex, I definitely suggest looser fitting latex items or more staple everyday pieces like a top or a skater skirt or latex gloves, or you could even try a latex dress. But obviously, the more of a whole piece you go, the more expensive it will be. So a latex dress will obviously cost you more than a latex skater skirt or a pair of latex gloves, for instance. Now, there are some great places you can pick up latex on the cheaper side or like more of a budget side. And obviously, you can pick up secondhand latex too on places like Vinted or Depop, whatever, if you keep your eye out. So I suggest maybe if you really are nervous too, perhaps not even paying full price or brand new price, perhaps buying secondhand latex might benefit you as well. But you know, I'm always here to champion people trying latex if they want to. I'm never going to make anyone try latex who doesn't want to, obviously. But if you're someone who is starting out, those would be my personal recommendations, because you will get to understand the material, what it feels like on, without spending too much money and being too invested in it if you don't like it.
Have you ever tried chlorinated latex?
So, believe it or not, I've only ever worn chlorinated latex. I don't know what raw latex feels like. I work heavily alongside Catalyst Latex with most of my latex outfits, and their latex in particular is chlorinated. So, I'm only used to chlorinated latex and don't know the comparison.
Do some colours fade easier than others, or do they all fade the same?
Yes, there are terrible latex colours that exist out there, and I mean terrible because they're so hard to keep. And white is number one on that worst latex colour choices. It stains. It's just like a one and done sort of thing, which is probably why you don't see many people wear white latex. I also don't feel like it shines that great, so I feel the combination of it's terrible to look after as well as it not being so good to shine. I feel a lot of people avoid it. That's just me though. You know, I'm not speaking for everyone. That's my theory on why you don't see much white latex. And it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how hard you try and preserve it and look after it, it's a one and done sort of thing. And that's because obviously the natural oils that release from your skin, stuff like that, just stains it instantly. It goes yellow over time, discolors. It doesn't matter how you sort of store it. White latex is just, like I said, a one and done sort of latex color, which is a shame because it does make things pop. But I feel like a lot of people avoid it because it's so hard. It doesn't matter how hard you try, it's going to discolor. It's inevitable, basically. And perfect example is my latex Jessie Team Rocket cosplay. I have semi-permanent hair, which means, believe it or not, it runs when it gets wet, the more you know. And also if I sweat or anything, it will run. And the collar on my Jessie Team Rocket was red when I finished wearing it, you know. So it doesn't matter how hard you try, it's going to get ruined. The other colours that aren't so great is any sort of lighter colour, so like yellow. I stained my Pikachu cosplay as well because of my hair. Like, my hair got on the yellow and stained it. Transparent latex as well, especially really see-through transparent, not a coloured one, but just like plain transparent. That is really hard to maintain and look after because one wear of that and it's yellowed and it's got an off colour. That's the only way I can describe it, because obviously again your skin's natural oils have stained it, and it doesn't matter how hard you try and preserve it and look after it, again it's just an inevitable thing that's going to happen. That's why you see a lot of people wearing black. You know, I've got chains on this right now, and latex gets marked really easily if you wear certain jewelry or anything like that, but black is pretty robust. I'm not saying that you can't ruin your black latex, because obviously you can ruin it easily, but it's a staple color that kind of hides all the imperfections, so to speak, and I think that's why people opt for black over every other color, because latex is expensive, like I said, and also it's such a staple color and it shines well. And if you're buying something, are you going to spend like £300-400, if not more, on a black latex catsuit, or £300-400, if not more, on a white latex catsuit that you know you can only wear once? You know, it's a no-brainer. And sad but true. But yes, latex does stain, and there's colors that people avoid because of this.
How do you store your latex?
This is another great question, and I don't really know the consensus when it comes to storing latex. I don't know the proper way, if I do it right or not, so maybe take this with a pinch of salt, but I tend to store my latex like this. So it's just an A4 clear plastic bag with like a seal top that you push, and I label them. So right now this says latex skater skirt, which is what I've got on in this video. And usually it will have some tissue paper, which isn't in this because it's in my dressing room. But I have some tissue paper that I normally wrap the latex in as well to protect it from sticking to itself. And I store my latex in a cold, dark place because people have wrote to me before and said that their latex is actually melted by being too hot. So if you put it in the loft and stuff, I don't think it's great for it. I want to stress as well that the place can't be too cold because it can get brittle. It's a very bizarre and emotional material, like I was saying. So you have to be so careful with it. I tend to keep it in a drawer in my office. Well, many drawers in my office, so it stays at, I say cold, it stays at room temperature. So it never gets too cold, it never gets too hot, it's out of any direct sunlight or anything that could tarnish or, you know, fade it or anything like that. And like I said, this is how I store it. I write on things what it is so I don't have to unwrap all the tissue paper, and I do have a label printer, so I could make nicer labels. It's only really come to mind recently that I could make posher labels for them instead of scrawling all over them in Sharpie and a white sticky label. And if I know that I'm not going to wear the piece for a super long time, I will talc it and then put it away. If I know it's an item of latex that I wear quite frequently, I don't bother. I just wrap it in the tissue after obviously rinsing it through and making sure it's dry, and then I store it in these bags like I said. I don't know how others store it, if I'm doing it right, but I've stored my latex like this for years and had no issues. I'm just going to put this down so I can touch wood. So yeah.
What does it actually feel like?
I don't really know how I'm going to explain what it feels like, but I'm going to give it my best shot for those of you who maybe are curious about latex and are too scared to try it, or you don't want to try it but want to know what the sensation is or like the feel of it. It's kind of a tricky one to explain. So latex is a fascinating material because it changes with temperature. So latex, when you wear it and it's cold, feels totally different to when you wear it and it's hot. And what I mean by that is right now I am sitting in my studio and it is very cold, and this latex feels cold on me. It feels cold. It feels dry in the respect of obviously I'm not sweating, so there's no like sweat layer, and it feels very form fitted, and it feels like it's giving me a cold hug. Insane, I know, but that's the best way I can describe it. It feels nice because it feels cold, you know, like the cold side of your pillow. Like that's the vibe all over my body right now. And it is called second skin. It's coined second skin predominantly. And it's called second skin because once you've got it on and it gets settled on your body, you don't really feel like you're wearing anything at all. That's the best way to describe it, and it probably sounds really bizarre. Like, it feels so nice, I guess. Like I said, right now this feels like it's giving me a cold hug to my body. Like I'm sleeping on the cold side of the pillow, but all over my body. And if it was really hot in here, you would build up like a sweat layer between you and your latex. Some people really enjoy that and love the feel. Again, though, when it's hot, it can become uncomfortable if it's too hot. And I have worn latex in like 40-degree heat when I was a guest at a con in Sicily, and I had major regrets after because that was too hot, too uncomfortable to be in latex. But it is what it is, and I feel like if you're hot, it still feels like second skin, just you're a little bit more sweatier, whereas this feels dry right now. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it to you good, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Like this, I can feel is dry, like I'm not sweating because it's cold. But if I had hot latex on right now, like if it was really warm in this room, I would be able to feel the latex like sliding around my body because it's got that layer of sweat between me and the latex. So it feels different again, but they both temperatures feel like you're not wearing anything. Like it's coined second skin for a reason because it feels like you're not really wearing anything at all. The best personal temperature to wear latex in, my personal preference, is just room temperature, where it's neither too warm or too cold. And that just again feels like you're not wearing anything. So, you know that feeling of not wearing anything? That's what it feels like. But no, it does feel like you're getting a hug constantly. If you've got tighter latex, like a cat suit, is like just having a hug over your body the whole time. Yeah. Hopefully that helps explain it. Not really sure. I tried my best. But let me know if you wear latex, what you would describe it feels like down below in the comments, because I would love to hear other people's descriptions of it because it's quite a hard thing to explain, but it doesn't feel horrible. Otherwise, I wouldn't wear it.
Is it easy to move in?
It is beyond easy to move in. It's like you're wearing nothing, like I said, and I could do star jumps, run in it, dance in it, even in a catsuit. It's so good and easy. It is the second skin. It's like you're not really wearing anything once it's on. So, yeah, it's beyond easy to move in. I can't explain it. It's like wearing normal clothes. It's nothing too crazy. I mean, depending on what you're doing in your latex, obviously some things you won't be able to move in, but most of the time, yeah, I could do a whole dance piece in latex. In a latex catsuit, I could run a sprint race in a latex catsuit if I wanted to. But what you got to remember is latex is delicate, so although you can move in it really easily, you've got to think about what you're doing in it to not rip it or ruin it. But yeah, it's super easy to move in.
Can it be dyed or painted with designs that last?
I don't actually know the answer to this question. If you do, please comment below. I've never personally tried to do anything like this with my latex because it's so expensive to begin with. So the fear of ruining it would just, yeah, the anxiety is too much for me. I have always wanted to try and rhinestone latex, but I'm not sure if it's possible because I feel like if you misplace a stone, that glue is going to leave a mark. So the only latex color I'd probably try to do it with would be black because it's more forgiving. But like I said, latex is a fickle mistress. She likes to be treated a certain way, and if she doesn't get her way, she's going to ruin herself, okay? I unfortunately don't know the answer to it. I've never tried it. If you've tried it, let me know. But I'm kind of going to opt and say latex is such a particular material that you would have to get it spot on straight away if you can do anything like this, because there will be no second attempts.
How long does it take from idea to it being a finished product to use for your shoots?
Now, this is a really great question and one that I wasn't expecting to see here, but I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy knowing the answer. So when it comes to how long an idea can take to get from concept to a latex piece. I'm very, very blessed because I work alongside Catalyst Latex for collabs a lot when it comes to things like this. And for instance, my latex Velma, it's like, hey, I want to do this latex Velma. And they're like, cool, draw me up some concepts. And then, like, I say yes or no. And then they get it made and sent out. And normally that's within a week. I'm not even kidding. Or two, depending. But usually within the week, the idea that I've had will be spoke about, drawn up, made, and shipped out. Now, that is because we are doing a collab, which is a mutual benefit to us both. But if I'm just buying latex, it can take anywhere between 2 weeks to 2 months to 6 months. It really does depend. One, where you're buying it. Two, are you having it made specifically for you, or are you buying it off the hanger? Three, what their backlog is like at the time, because different times of the year are going to be busier for latex companies. So if you have something in mind, I really do stress that you plan ahead, and I mean really far ahead, like 6 months would be great, so that you're not disappointed if the company you're contacting can't get it out to you in time, because there is a high demand for latex, believe it or not. You probably know that because you're here watching this video. But you have to plan ahead if you're thinking about something new, especially like an event. When it gets closer to those sort of things, it's obviously going to be the peak time for that latex company. So I always try and order things far in advance because, like I said, 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, a year, it really just depends on that company's backlog and if it's custom or off the rails. And some companies you can pay to like speed up your item being made. I know Libidex has express versions of their orders that you can make, so it can speed up the process for you. But again, they're just a team of people putting these latex outfits together. So you have to really remember that when you are buying specific pieces, especially if you wanted something for like Christmas or Halloween, whatever. You want to be ordering that stuff at least a couple of months in advance, if you know what I'm saying. So time frame really does depend. Like I said, I'm blessed because I collab a lot with Catalyst Latex on cosplay ideas and different outfit ideas. So my sort of time frame for things is slightly different, but when I'm ordering, I normally allow quite a lot of time for that company to process my order, make it, ship it, and it be delivered. So yeah, anything between a week and a year, I guess, is the answer. But it just depends on the time of year, where you're ordering from, and little things like that, really.
Does it stick to your skin and pull you while wearing it?
So right now, because it's cold in my studio, this is sticking to my skin more than it would if it's hot. So yes, it does pull or rip a little bit, but nothing that's crazy or like, oh my God, get it off me, this is awful. Obviously, when you're hot and you're sweating in your latex and it's a more higher temperature than it is in my studio, because I think it's like 4 degrees in here right now, it doesn't do that because you build up the sweat layer, so the latex just glides over your skin. But when you're wearing it and it's cold, it does have like a pulling vibe to it, but it's not terrible. It is what it is, but it doesn't happen if you're really hot, and most of the time you will be really hot in latex. It's just because I'm filming in the middle of November and it's freezing.
Do you like latex gloves too?
I do like latex gloves, and I feel like they're a great starting point for people who are wanting to dip their toe into the latex world. If you're someone who finds it a little bit daunting, latex gloves are a great first piece, and they can be pretty inexpensive. I only sadly have latex opera gloves, which I'm sure you probably love to hear that, because I would say that you're a latex gloves fan. And if you are, you should definitely check out my latex ASMR video, because I do a lot of ASMR with latex gloves. But I would like to add shorter gloves to my arsenal of things in my costume box, because sadly I don't actually own any short latex gloves, and I feel they would be a great addition to my latex wardrobe and my latex collection. I have actually put some on my own wish list as well, so if you'd like to see me wear latex gloves more, it's a perfect opportunity for that. But yes, I do like latex gloves, and I have worn them on and off over the years with different looks and different costumes. I would like to try my hand at having the shorter latex gloves too, and see how they feel and if they're nicer to wear, because sometimes I find the opera gloves really restrictive further up my arm, because if they are too long, because I'm quite small in real life, I find that they dig in, because they shouldn't be going that far up my arm, but they're going that far up my arm because my body is not long.
How hard is it to look after latex? What is the general latex care routine and how long does it take?
Now, a lot of people have asked me questions revolving around this topic in different ways, so I'm just going to blanket statement that one question. And it's hard and easy to look after at the same time. It doesn't particularly take as long as I think you feel like it might take, and I look after my latex and rinse it out probably in maybe a frowned upon way, but it was the way I was taught when I very first started with latex, and I'm talking like 12, 13 years ago. I've just always opted to use it, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, I rinse out my latex with washing up liquid. Yeah, I fill my bath up with lukewarm water and use washing liquid, like washing up liquid, dish soap, whatever you want to call it, on my latex to rinse it off. And I use this pretty much straight away after I've like worn the item of clothing, or the item of latex, I should say, because I try and get all of the oils off of it as quick as I can. So I will let it soak for a bit and wash it off with dish soap, and then I hang it out on plastic coat hangers, because metal obviously affects latex and it can mark latex. So I hang it out on all plastic coat hangers, and I hang it on my shower rail to dry. I know people have different ways of doing so and different techniques, and you can get proper latex washing stuff, but I just use dish soap because I always have, because that was what I was taught when I first started wearing it from my latex model friend, and I have always just used this technique. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, like don't at me if you do it and it goes wrong, like that's not what I'm here to say. I'm just here to tell you how I look after mine. And like I said, everyone will have their own preferences, but I usually wear the item. Once I've finished, I will put it in the lukewarm water in my bathtub, like I said, and soak it, and then like dish soap on and rinse it through and make sure that I've covered all like the area, and then rinse it off again with lukewarm water, and then I will sort of try and get as much water out of the garment as possible, and then hang it to dry. And I normally put a towel underneath, so any drip like factor is captured on the towel. And then once the item is fully dry, I try to turn them inside out as well. So I dry it one way and then turn it inside out and then dry it the other way. Once I know that the item of latex is fully dry, I then will either talc it. Like I said, if I know the item's going away for quite a substantial amount of time, I will talc it and then put it away to avoid sticking to each other and just, yeah, all of that good stuff. And if I know it's not going away for a long time, I won't do this process, because once you've talked it, you then obviously have to rinse it off before you wear it. Or you can use the talc as a bonus to get in it if you like using talc. But I like using lube, so lube and talc make this weird, goo. So I usually rinse out my latex if I've talked it before wearing it, so the night before. And either way, both of these processes end in me wrapping the garments in tissue paper. If there's any metal, like metal buckles or anything, like hardware on the latex itself, I will put separate pieces of tissue paper on them specific spots to stop it touching the latex for long periods of time and marking it. And then fold it up neatly and put it in a labeled plastic seal bag like you have seen already. And that is the process of looking after latex in my house. It can take, I guess, a day, but it doesn't take a day in length of doing it. It literally takes like 10 minutes to wash out and hang up, and then you wait for it to dry overnight, and then another like 10-20 minutes depending on what you're putting away and how much latex you're putting away to put it away. So it's not too bad time wise. It's just having somewhere to dry it that I think people struggle with. That's my process. I can't wait to be trashed in the comments. But that's what I do. I don't think I've ever shared how I look after my latex, but yeah. Washing up liquid or dish soap and lukewarm water in a bathtub with plastic coat hangers, and then once it's dry, either talked or not talked if I'm going to wear it, and then wrapped in like plain white tissue paper and put away in labelled bags so I can find. And that's it. That's how I store my latex, start to finish, and that's how long it roughly takes me.
How easy is it to take off?
So I know I've already answered about putting latex on, but someone has asked, how is it to get off? Now, let me tell you, that's a whole other ball game, especially if you are wearing very restrictive things. And if you've been super cold, it's really hard to get off because it's basically stuck to you and you have to like peel it off. And sometimes it does feel like it's tearing your skin or pinching your skin, whatever. But if it's been really warm, that can also be really, really horrible too, because the amount of sweat that builds up in it, and you can just sort of peel it off you really easily if you're super warm, but it's kind of gross. I said what I said. Some of you will live for that feeling, but there's nothing really nice about it in the respect of like people romanticize latex a lot, and I'm here to tell you that taking it off process is nothing to be romanticized. In my opinion, it's the most disgusting situation depending on what you're wearing, especially if you're wearing a catsuit. Like the sweat that comes off of that, if you've been hot and it's been warm, is awful. Like, yeah, I tend to take my latex off standing in the bath, and nothing feels better as well if you've had something that's very tight on for quite a long time. Nothing feels better than to get it off. For me personally, I know everyone has their different relationships with latex, but for me, if I've been wearing a very restrictive catsuit for a very long time and I've been sweating and doing all sorts whilst taking my photos, whatever, I just want to get it off. Like, I'm done. There's a time in the day when I am done and I want to peel that thing off me. And like I said, if it's hot, it just, the water that pours out is ridiculous. And it can be quite hard to get off, like I said, depending on what you're wearing. And it can be not so glamorous too, like at all. But there's no better feeling than peeling latex off, especially if you've been super hot and just being done with it. The same as like taking eyelashes off at the end of the day, or a cosplay off if you go and you're a cosplayer and you go to convention, or taking your shoes off after you've walked for like miles all day. There's no better feeling than peeling that latex off. It really does depend again what you're wearing. If you're wearing something that's loose fitting, it's super easy to get off. But the catsuits and stuff, when you have to peel them off, it's like a whole other thing. A whole other thing.
What does it mean for you?
I don't think I really understand this question too much. Like, I don't know what you mean by, like, what does it mean to me, but I just really enjoy wearing latex. I think it makes everything look badass and so much cooler than if it wasn't shiny. I'm a kid of the 90s, and growing up, everything was like vinyl, PVC, latex. And the more I look back, like Steps had a latex music video back in the day, and they was one of my favorite bands as a kid. And I just feel like there was just signs for me personally that I was always gonna be into shiny clothing. If you know, you know. I just enjoy the way it makes things look. I've always loved using it for cosplays, especially superheroes, because I feel like it gives it that sleek, flawless finish that I feel comic book heroes would wear. It makes them look more cartoony, if you ask me, to have a latex Supergirl or something like that, where everything is so shiny and sleek and form fitted. I love latex and the way that it makes things look and it finalizes an outfit. And I have always tried to champion latex as a material within the cosplay community, and I've always tried to encourage people to explore and wear it themselves. And yeah, I feel like latex is an underrated material and it makes things look so much cooler, so much better. I know people have different attractions to latex, but mine is specifically I love the way it makes things look and how it makes everything look more like awesome and badass, especially when it comes to cosplays, like I said. And that is why I've always opted to wear it over the years, because I love the final finish, I love the final results, and I feel like you can't find a material that fits you as good as latex. And that is all the questions I have time for today when it comes to latex. Now, thank you so much to all of my followers over on Instagram who sent me these questions. I hope that you all learned something from them. Put your hand up in the comments below if you did, and specifically let me know what was the thing that you learned today from this video. Now, also, if you are someone who is thinking about getting into latex, please let me know if you do try it for yourself. You can even send me a picture of what you pick up over on Instagram if you would like to do that. I'm always a hype person when it comes to seeing new people get into latex. I know it's not for everyone, but I'm always so stoked to see people who join the community or try latex for the first time. I don't gatekeep latex. I know, you know, some people might, but for me, I just think the more people that get to experience this material and how awesome it can make things look, the better, in my opinion. So like I said, if you pick anything up, do send me a message on Instagram. I'd love to see. Now is the perfect time to also follow me over there if you're not, because the input for this video did also come from my Instagram stories, like I said. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it, what you didn't know about latex. Did you learn something? Are you shaming me for the way that I keep my latex or store my latex or wash my latex? I don't know. I've never told anyone what I do with my latex before. So yeah, there's that. Thank you so much for watching this video. All that's really left to say is take care, and I of course will see you in the next one. Stay shiny.